What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I came at you guys. We get to talk about the Valiants. Yeah, the Valiant archetype. This is one of the three archetypes that will be introduced in the next deck building set, Tactical Masters. So, this one is the Pendulum archetype. Yeah, this is the Valiant. I have nothing positive to say because here's the thing. Pendulum, oh boy. If Dory McCord was not the predecessor to why we know Pendulum isn't going to be working well, this kind of follows up because there's so many different gimmicks that they're trying to do with this archetype that I feel like, this is gonna flop hard. Like even the reprint of of one card in the OCG may not be able to save this. And I'll show you guys what that card is. Some of you probably know this because some of you probably seen it. But the events of, well, the theme behind the Valiant is these guys are based off of tabletop RPGs. Yeah, they're, I guess, Dungeons and Dragons based, if that's something some people are into. You know, there's a priest, there's a mage, there's a warrior, there's archer. Yeah, there's a lot that you can take in terms of the specs of what they're showing here, but eh, it's. I'm sorry, I have to be very honest. This is very lackluster, and there could have been so much more done to it. Like they're trying to fit in the pendulum mechanic, then they're trying to fit in this whole column movement bullshit. You know, they tried to do that before. We saw how far that worked. And I guess on top of that, they're even trying to bring back fusion pendulum monsters and synchro pendulum monsters. And it's just like, yeah. Alright, so when we go ahead and we start off with the first monster, this is Nome, the priestess of the Valiant. She's level 2 water attribute spellcaster pendulum monster, 500 attack and defense, and a pendulum scale of 1. I believe they all share the same pendulum effect. Is that during your main phase, you can special summon this card from your main monster zone, um, to the column that this card is adjacent to. Also, you can summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for Valiant monsters and monsters from your extra deck. So, then her monster effects. You're gonna use each effect of this card's name once per turn each. If you control this, if you summon this card, you can add one Valiant spell card from your deck to your hand. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can add one Valiant monster from your deck to your hand, except for Synomi, the priestess of the Valiant. Then we have Seon, Archer of the Valiant, level 4 water attribute spellcaster type pendulum monster. Pendulum scale of 1, attack and defense 1100. Yeah, same pendulum effect. And then its monster effect. You can only use each of this card's effects once per turn each. If you control this as a summon card, you can target one effect monster on the field, toss a coin. If the result is heads, negate the monster's effect. If the result is tails, its current attack is half. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can target one card on the field, toss a coin. If heads, destroy that card. If tails, return it to the hand. Nizaki, Ninja of the Valiant. Level 6, Water Attribute, Spellcaster type Pendulum Monster. 1800 attack, 1800 defense, and a Pendulum scale of 1. This monster's pendulum effect is very different. It says, if a Valiant World Shinar Banshell is on the field, or if you control a Water Valiant monster, you can set summon this card into a monster zone in this card's column. Monster effects. You only use each of this card's monster effects once per turn each. You can target one other monster in the monster zone and move it to an adjacent monster zone. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can target one Valiant monster in your Southern Shot card zone and special summon it to your main monster zone in this column. Next is this big guy right here. This is Hojo, Warrior of the Valiants. Water attribute, level 8 sarcastic type pendulum monster, 1900 attack, 1900 defense, with a pendulum scale of 1. If Valiant World Shinara Bansho is in the field spell zone, or you control a Water Valiant monster, you can summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. Uh, let's see. You can use each of this card's effects once per turn each. You can target one face-up card in the select card zone and return it to your hand. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can fusion summon one Valiant Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you can from your hand in our field as fusion material, as well as cards in your pendulum zone. Valiant Buster Baron, level 2 fire attribute machine pendulum effect monster. 800 attack and defense, pendulum scale of 1. You can only use this card pendulum effect once per turn. During your main phase, you can summon this card from your main monster zone to the monster zone in this card's column. Also, you can access summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except for Valiant monsters and monsters from your extra deck. Monster effects, you only use each of this card's effects once per turn each. If you control this summon card, target one other Valiant monster in your main monster zone and move that target to an adjacent monster zone. If this card is moved to a monster zone, from a monster zone to another, you can target one pendulum zone and place it face up in an adjacent spell or trap card zone as a continuous spell. Valiant Voltage Viscots. Level 4 fire attribute pendulum effect monster with 1400 attack and defense and a pendulum scale of 1. You can only use this card's pendulum effect once per turn each. During your main phase, you can summon this card to a monster zone in this card's column. Also, you can access some monsters for the rest of the turn except for Valiant monsters and monsters from the extra deck. You can only use this card's first and second effect once per turn each. If you control this same card, you can place one Valiant Pendulum monster from your extra deck face up in your silent card zone as a continuous spell. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you can place one Valiant Pendulum monster from your extra deck into your Pendulum zone. Valiant Mad Marquess, level 6 fire attribute pendulum monster, 1700 attack in defense, pendulum scale of 1. If Valiant World Coin Wise is in your field cell zone, or you control a fire Valiant monster, you summon this card to a monster zone in its column. Monster effect. During the main phase, you can roll a 6-sided dice and activate the top cards of your deck equal to the result. If you do, you can add one excavated Valiant card from your hand, card to your hand, and then shuffle the rest back into your deck. If this card is moved from monster zone to another, you can roll a 6-sided die. If the result is 2, 3, 4, or 5, so summon one monster from your strong trap card zone to your main monster zone in this column. Then we have Valiant Dominator Duke, level 8 fire attribute machine pendulum monster. 2000 attack, 2000 defense, and a pendulum scale of 1. This pendulum effect is if you control King Nog Vice in your field spell zone, or you control a fire Valiant monster, you summon this card from your monster zone in its column. You can only use its first and second monster effects once per turn each. Target one set solid trap card on the field. It cannot be activated this turn. If this card is moved from a monster zone to another, you target one face-up monster your opponent controls in the main monster zone and take control of it. And if you do, it is treated as a Valiant monster. Also, it cannot declare an attack or activate its effects. Valiant Assemble Mamonaka, okay. Level 10, Water Attribute Subcaster Fusion Pendulum Monster. 2800 attack and defense and a pendulum scale of 10. You only use this card's pendulum effect once per turn. During the main phase, you can activate one of these following effects, such as summon this card from your main monster zone into its column, move one monster in the main monster zone to an adjacent main monster zone. Monster effect. Requirements. 3 Valiant monsters. You can only use this card's first effect once per turn each. During your main phase, quick effect. You can target one effect monster in your opponent's main monster zone. Place that monster in your opponent's solar shot card zone. That is a monster column as the face of continuous spell. If this card is already in that zone, destroy it, and then if you destroy that monster card this way, your opponent loses life points equal to its attack. If this card is special summoned, you control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can place it in your face pendulum zone. We have the Valiant Genesis Grand Duke, level 10, fire attribute, machine type fusion pendulum monster, 2500 attack and defense, and a pendulum scale of 10. Its requirements are 2 Valiant monsters. Its pendulum effect is you can only use this card's pendulum effect once per turn. During your main phase, you activate one of the following effects, such as summon this card to your main monster zone and a column adjacent to it. Move one monster in your main monster zone to an adjacent monster zone. Main monster zone. Its pendulum effects. This card must either be fusion summoned or special summoned from your face down extra deck by attributing one level 5 or higher non-fusion Valiant monster in the same column as the extra monster zone. Okay. If this card is special summoned, you can target one monster in your opponent's spell or trap card zone and return to hand. If you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack. Then this card gains attack equal to half the damage they took. We have the field spells. This is Shinra Bansho. You can only activate the second effect of this card's name once per turn. When this card resolves, you can place one Valiant field spell from your deck face up in your opponent's monster zone except for Valiant World Shinra Bansho. If there are 2 cards in the field spell zone, the turn player can target one monster in either of their cell or trap card zones in the player's turn, special summons it to a main monster zone in the same column. Cool. Okay, this card is basically like World of Creation, World of Nature, and it goes used to empathize the natural part of the world. Okay. While the other one is technology. Okay. Cool. Valiant World Kinegog Wise. Field spell. You can only activate one. Only use this card's second effect once per turn each. When this card resolves, place one Valiant field spell from your deck into the face up opponent's field spell zone, except for Valiant World Kinegog Wise. When there are 2 cards in the field spell zone during either player's turn, you can target one effect monster in your opponent's main monster zone in the same column as a monster the turn player controls. Place that target monster face up in the controller's spell or trap card zone as the same column as a continuous spell, and if there's already a monster there, destroy it. Then they have the... Oh, shit. I didn't mean for that to happen. Then they have the reprint of Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. So people are probably going to be excited for Electromite's reprint. This archetype has more issues than Yu-Gi-Oh! Does magazines. Because, like I said earlier in the beginning, there's so much movement of monster zones, and then it's fire and water for machine and spellcasters. So I guess that's a combination they're trying to work on. Most of the main deck monsters are all scale 1, while the extra deck is scale 10. So, luckily enough, most of these monsters, outside of both of the pendulum monsters are... Oh, yeah, both of the fusions are 10. So, you're basically just enhancing the summon of all the other monsters that are basically 2 to 8. Which, I mean, is fine. It's, like I said, the issue that I have with all of this is it's too much it's too much movement. It's too much of putting this card here, putting that card here, turning cards into continuous spells. It's like, did anyone think this through before I think obviously they did because they ended up making the cards, but still, this is way too much for the card game. Like, this is gonna flop. And I'm sorry, you can put all the pretty graphics on it you want. You can try to make this as tabletop as you want to, but this is gonna flop hard. Like, this is gonna be Do Re Mi Chord all over again. Or Chord, as it's called here in the TCG, because they shorten the name. But still, this is gonna flop hard. And this is Konami's doing, because this could have been a great pendulum archetype You know, if monsters being placed on the field, you pendulum, and then you start moving stuff to make continuous spells. That would have been great because that kind of fits with what the weather painters, because that was their whole gimmick, was continuous spells and traps and summoning stuff to the adjacent columns and then getting effects off of the continuous spells. But this is just a hot mess, and I ain't hear nobody hype this shit up. Mm-mm. Ain't nobody hyping this shit up, because the only thing people want out of this at this point is to know if the TCG is going to reprint Electromite, because that's literally the only thing that's going to. I don't even think this can save this archetype. Can she really? No, she probably wouldn't be able to save this, because this is just a hot mess. It really is. It's a hot mess of pendulum, and ugh. Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, I can't defend this. There's not, like, the only thing I can say is I like the idea that they wanted to base their monsters off of the classic, you know, mage, warrior, archer, and then add the cyberpunk into it. You know, you have the long range, you have the warrior. Actually, yeah, because you have like various ranges of tabletop here. You have the ninja class, you have the soldier, you have the archer, you have the magician, then you have um the gunner, you have the attacker, the gunsman, or the machinist. Sorry, not the gunsman, the machinist. And you know, it's like it's not bad. It's just it could be better. It really could, and it sucks. I'm sorry, it really does. It's not good. Like, if I could improve it, I'd take all this moving shit around and just make it an archetype that focused on making things continuous spells and traps. And then you can do stuff by, blowing them up or putting other spells and trap cards in those cards in that column, or moving stuff into the spell card zone, but moving to the adjacent column. And no, this is way too much. And I have a feeling it's gonna flop like it did with Cord, because you don't hear anything about Cord. Everything else out did Cord and well. Oh, I guess to each his own. But let me know what you guys think about the Valiants, and do you think this archetype will survive um, with the whole process of Yu-Gi-Oh and what Yu-Gi-Oh has to offer for it? So let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, as it helps out tremendously. You can also hit notification bell so you guys be informed of when I do upload more content. Social media links are in the description box below, so you guys want to interact with me on social media. You can also watch me live on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/HarpiePlayerJoe, and help me there as well. And with that said, I'll catch you guys next time. HPJ signing out. Take care.